The most dangerous advice ever given to aspiring leaders is fake it till you make it, because authenticity beats artificial confidence every single time. The moment people sense you are performing rather than leading, you lose all credibility and influence. What actually works is the opposite. Be real until it becomes natural. When you speak from your genuine experience, including your failures and uncertainties, people lean in because they finally hear someone telling the truth about what leadership actually feels like. The vulnerability you think makes you weak is actually what makes you trustworthy, relatable, and ultimately more effective than leaders who pretend they never struggle. Maria stood frozen at the podium, her mouth dry as sandpaper. 300 executives stared back at her, waiting for the quarterly report that could make or break her career. But the words wouldn't come. Her voice cracked on the first sentence. Her hands shook as she gripped the microphone. Everything she had prepared, every confident phrase she had practiced in the mirror that morning, vanished like smoke. You know what happened next? Something extraordinary. Instead of pretending everything was fine, Maria took a deep breath and said, "I have to be honest with you. I'm terrified right now. This presentation means everything to me, and I'm scared I'm going to mess it up." The room went silent. Then something magical occurred. Every person in that audience leaned forward. They stopped checking their phones. They stopped looking at their watches. Because in that moment, Maria had done something most leaders never do. She had become real. That presentation became legendary in her company, not because it was perfect, but because it was human. Maria connected with her audience in a way that polished corporate speak never could. She spoke from her heart, shared her struggles with the numbers, admitted where she needed help, and asked for their support. By the end, she had a standing ovation and 3 promotion offers. This is the broken leader's paradox. The very thing you think disqualifies you from leadership is often what makes you most qualified to lead. Your struggles, your failures, your moments of doubt are not bugs in your leadership software. They are features. They are what make you relatable, trustworthy, and ultimately more effective than the leader who pretends to have it all figured out. Most people believe that to speak like a leader, you must first feel like one. This is backwards thinking. The truth is, you must speak like a leader, especially when you feel broken, confused, or uncertain. Because real leadership is not about having all the answers. It is about having the courage to ask the right questions, the wisdom to admit what you don't know, and the strength to keep moving forward even when the path is unclear. Think about the leaders who have influenced you most in your life. Were they the ones who seemed perfect and untouchable? Or were they the ones who shared their struggles, who showed you their scars, who let you see behind the curtain of their success? I am willing to bet it was the latter, because human beings do not connect with perfection. We connect with authenticity. We follow people who have walked through fire and come out the other side, not people who claim they never felt the heat. The science backs this up. Researchers at Harvard Business School found that leaders who show vulnerability create what they call psychological safety in their teams. When a leader admits they don't have all the answers, team members feel safe to contribute ideas, ask questions, and take creative risks. When a leader shares their own struggles, it gives others permission to be human too. This creates a culture of innovation and trust that drives real results. But here's what most people get wrong about vulnerability in leadership. They think it means being weak, oversharing personal problems, or breaking down in front of your team. That is not vulnerability. That is emotional dumping. True vulnerability in leadership means being honest about your professional challenges while maintaining your commitment to finding solutions. It means saying, "I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out," instead of pretending you know everything. It means admitting when you have made a mistake and showing how you plan to fix it. Your brokenness, your struggles, your imperfections are not obstacles to overcome. They are materials to build with. Every challenge you have faced has taught you something that someone else needs to learn. Every failure has given you wisdom that can help others avoid the same mistakes. Every moment of doubt has forced you to dig deeper and find strength you didn't know you had. The leader who has never failed cannot teach others how to get back up. The leader who has never struggled cannot guide others through difficult times. The leader who has never felt uncertain cannot help their team navigate ambiguity. Your difficult experiences have not disqualified you from leadership. They have prepared you for it. But you must learn to speak from this place of hard-won wisdom, not in spite of it. When you share a lesson, ground it in your experience. When you make a decision, explain the thinking behind it, including the mistakes that taught you what not to do. When you cast a vision, acknowledge the obstacles you see ahead and your plan for overcoming them. This kind of honest, grounded communication builds trust faster than any amount of polished presentations or inspirational quotes. The most powerful leaders in history were broken people who learned to speak with authority about the things that had broken them. Lincoln spoke about unity from a place of deep personal melancholy. Churchill spoke about never giving up because he understood despair. Mandela spoke about forgiveness because he knew the weight of hatred. They did not lead in spite of their struggles. They led because of them. Your voice as a leader will never be more powerful than when it carries the weight of real experience, real struggle, and real growth. The people you lead are not looking for a perfect leader. They are looking for a real one. Someone who has been where they are, who understands their challenges, and who can show them a way forward, not because it was easy, but because it was hard and they did it anyway. This is where your journey begins. Not when you feel ready, not when you have it all figured out, but right now, right where you are, with all your imperfections and uncertainties. Because the world needs leaders who speak from experience, not theory. Leaders who have been tested by fire and emerged with wisdom to share. Leaders who understand that true strength comes not from never falling, but from getting up every time you do. Now that you understand your struggles are assets, not liabilities, let me show you how to build your authentic leadership voice on this foundation. There is a fundamental difference between how managers speak and how leaders speak, and it has nothing to do with your title or position on the organization chart. A manager speaks about processes, procedures, and policies. A leader speaks about possibilities, purpose, and people. A manager tells you what to do. A leader shows you why it matters. A manager focuses on the task at hand. A leader connects that task to something bigger than all of us. The difference is not in the words themselves, but in the intention behind them and the experience that gives them weight. Your authentic leadership voice rests on three unshakable pillars. The first is clarity. Not the kind of clarity that comes from having all the answers, but the clarity that comes from being honest about what you know and what you don't know. When you speak with this kind of clarity, people trust you because they know you are not trying to deceive them or yourself. You are simply telling the truth as you see it, based on your experience and understanding. Lisa, a department head I worked with, learned this lesson the hard way. For months, she tried to sound confident about a restructuring plan she privately had serious doubts about. Her team sensed the disconnect between her words and her feelings. Morale plummeted, productivity dropped. Finally, she called a meeting and said, "I need to be straight with you. I have concerns about this plan, and I know some of you do too. Let's talk about what's really going on and figure out how to make this work better." That honesty transformed her relationship with her team and led to a much better outcome than the original plan ever could have achieved. The second pillar is conviction. This does not mean you must be certain about everything. It means you must be committed to your values and your people, even when the path forward is uncertain. Conviction in leadership comes from knowing what you stand for and why you stand for it. When you speak from this place, people feel the strength of your commitment, and it gives them courage to commit as well. Your conviction grows from your experiences, especially your difficult ones. Every time you have made a tough decision, learned from a mistake, or stood up for what you believed was right, you have built conviction. When you speak about these experiences, you are not just sharing information, you are sharing the strength you gained from going through them. This strength is contagious. It spreads to everyone who hears it. The third pillar is compassion. This is what separates true leaders from people who simply hold leadership positions. Compassion means you understand that everyone on your team is fighting battles you know nothing about. Everyone has insecurities, fears, and challenges that keep them awake at night. When you speak with compassion, you acknowledge this shared humanity. You create space for people to be imperfect, to learn, to grow, and to contribute their best work without fear of judgment. Compassion in leadership communication means choosing words that build people up rather than tear them down. It means giving feedback in a way that helps people improve rather than just pointing out what they did wrong. It means celebrating progress, not just perfection, most importantly. It means leading with the assumption that people want to do good work and succeed, and your job is to help them do that. These three pillars work together to create what I call experiential authority. This is different from positional authority, which comes from your job title, or expert authority, which comes from your knowledge and skills. Experiential authority comes from having walked the path you are asking others to walk. It comes from having faced the challenges you are helping others face. It comes from having learned the lessons you are now teaching. When you speak from experiential authority, something powerful happens. People stop listening to your words and start listening to your story. They hear not just what you are saying, but who you are and what you have been through. This creates a connection that goes far beyond the surface level of most business communication. It creates trust, respect, and the willingness to follow you even when the destination is uncertain. The beauty of experiential authority is that everyone has it in some area of their life. You may not have decades of business experience, but you have experience overcoming obstacles, solving problems, working with difficult people, and achieving goals despite setbacks. These experiences, properly understood and communicated, give you the right to speak with authority about the human elements of leadership that matter most. Your voice becomes powerful not when you sound like other leaders, but when you sound like the best version of yourself. When you speak from your own experience, with clarity about what you know and don't know, conviction about what you believe, and compassion for the people you serve, you develop a leadership voice that is uniquely yours and uniquely powerful. Understanding the foundation is crucial, but now you need the practical tools to build upon it. Let me share with you the impact method that transforms ordinary conversations into leadership moments. Even when you feel uncertain or unprepared, the first element is intent. Before you speak, get crystal clear on what you want to accomplish. Are you trying to inform, inspire, or influence? Are you solving a problem or preventing one? Too many people start talking without knowing where they want to end up, and their confusion becomes everyone else's confusion. When you feel broken or uncertain, this clarity of intent becomes your anchor. It keeps you focused on serving others rather than protecting yourself. Message comes next. Your message is not just what you say, but what people remember after you stop talking. The most powerful messages connect an immediate action to a larger purpose. Instead of saying, we need to hit our quarterly targets, say, these targets represent real families we serve and real jobs we protect. Your message should answer not just what and how, but why it matters. Pace is your secret weapon when confidence wavers. Most people speed up when they feel nervous, rushing through their words like they cannot wait to escape. Leaders do the opposite. They slow down. They pause. They let their words sink in. When you feel uncertain, use pauses strategically. Pause before making your main point. Pause after asking a question. Pause when someone challenges you. These pauses give you time to think and give others time to absorb your wisdom. Authority in communication is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It is about being the most prepared voice. Authority comes from doing your homework, understanding the facts, and being ready to support your position. But here is what most people miss. Authority also comes from being honest about the limits of your knowledge. When you say, I don't have that information with me, but I will get it for you by tomorrow, you demonstrate more authority than someone who makes up an answer on the spot. Connection is what separates leadership communication from mere information transfer. Connection happens when people feel seen, heard, and understood. It happens when you acknowledge their concerns before addressing your agenda. It happens when you share appropriate personal experiences that relate to their challenges. Connection is not about being liked. It is about being trusted. And trust grows fastest when people sense you truly care about their success, not just your own. Tone carries more weight than words. People hear your tone before they process your message. When you feel broken, your natural inclination might be to overcompensate with false enthusiasm or defensive aggression. Resist both. Instead, match your tone to your true feelings while maintaining professionalism. If you are concerned about something, let that concern show in your voice. If you are determined to solve a problem, let that determination come through. Authentic tone builds credibility. Now, let me give you 3 advanced techniques that work especially well when you feel unprepared or overwhelmed. First, master the strategic question. Instead of making statements you are unsure about, ask questions that move the conversation forward. What do you think are the biggest obstacles we face here? Or how have other departments handled similar challenges? These questions buy you time while gathering valuable information. Second, learn to handle interruptions with grace. When someone challenges you or cuts you off, resist the urge to fight back immediately. Instead, say, "That's an important point. Let me address it after I finish this thought." This acknowledges their concern while maintaining control of the conversation. Third, use the bridge technique when you do not know something. That's not my area of expertise, but what I can tell you is, or I haven't seen those specific numbers, but based on similar situations. This redirects the conversation to ground where you can add value without pretending to know things you don't. These tools work because they focus on serving others rather than protecting yourself. When your communication serves the needs of your audience, they stop looking for your weaknesses and start looking for ways to support your success. The biggest obstacle to speaking like a leader is not your lack of experience or knowledge. It is the voice in your head that tells you that you are not qualified, not smart enough, not experienced enough to have an opinion that matters. This inner critic is not your friend. It is not protecting you. It is stealing your power and robbing the world of your unique contribution. Let me tell you about Robert, a project manager who was promoted to director. For 6 months, he sat quietly in executive meetings while others made decisions he knew were wrong. He had the experience and insight to contribute, but the voice in his head kept saying, "Who are you to speak up? These people have been here longer than you. They know more than you do." Finally, he watched his team get assigned to a project he knew would fail. He spoke up, shared his concerns, and suggested an alternative approach. Not only did they adopt his suggestion, but it saved the company $2 million. The voice that told him he was not qualified nearly cost his organization dearly. Your inner critic operates on faulty assumptions. It assumes that other people are more qualified than you are. It assumes that your perspective is less valuable than theirs. It assumes that leadership requires perfection. None of these assumptions are true. The people around you are just as confused, uncertain, and imperfect as you are. They are just better at hiding it or have learned to speak despite their uncertainty. The cure for imposter syndrome is not waiting until you feel qualified. It is recognizing that no one ever feels fully qualified for the next level of responsibility. Every successful leader I know has felt like an imposter at some point. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. Successful leaders speak and act like leaders even when they feel like imposters. Here is the truth about expertise that no one tells you. You do not need to be the world's greatest expert on a topic to have a valuable perspective on it. You need to be honest about what you know, clear about what you have learned from your experience, and committed to serving the people who are counting on you. Your unique combination of experiences, challenges, and insights has prepared you to contribute in ways that no one else can. When you catch yourself thinking, I am not qualified to have an opinion on this, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what experience do I have that relates to this situation? Second, what have I learned from similar challenges in the past? Third, how can my perspective help solve this problem or serve these people? These questions shift your focus from what you lack to what you can offer. The confidence-competence loop is your path to authentic leadership authority. Here is how it works. You speak up despite feeling uncertain. You contribute value. You build confidence from that success, which makes you more likely to speak up again. Each time through this loop, your competence grows and your confidence becomes more solid. But you must enter the loop by speaking up before you feel ready. Fear of judgment and criticism will always be there. The goal is not to eliminate these fears, but to act despite them. Remember that criticism often comes from people who are not in the arena with you. They are not facing the challenges you face or carrying the responsibility you carry. Their judgment says more about their own insecurities than about your performance. When you speak from your authentic experience, some people will disagree with you, some will challenge your ideas, some will question your qualifications. This is not a bug in the system. This is the system working as designed. Leadership is not about avoiding disagreement. It is about having the courage to share your perspective, engage with different viewpoints, and work together to find the best path forward. Your voice matters not because you have all the answers, but because you have lived through experiences that taught you valuable lessons. The combination of your struggles and your insights creates a perspective that no one else has. When you silence that voice, you deprive your team, your organization, and your community of wisdom they need to succeed. Now comes the most important part of your transformation, turning these insights into daily practice. Knowledge without action is merely entertainment. The gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it is where most people lose their way. But you are not most people. You are someone who has faced challenges, learned from them, and is ready to use that hard-won wisdom to serve others. Let me share with you the story of David, a middle manager at a manufacturing company who felt completely overwhelmed when his plant was scheduled for closure. He had never led through a crisis before. He had no experience with layoffs, plant closures, or helping people find new jobs. By every measure, he was unqualified for what lay ahead. But David understood something crucial. His people needed a leader. Not a perfect leader, just a real one, instead of pretending he had all the answers. David gathered his team and said, I have never been through anything like this before, but I am committed to helping each of you through this transition with dignity and respect. I will learn what I need to learn, fight for what I can fight for, and be honest with you every step of the way. That conversation changed everything. His team stopped panicking and started planning. They worked together to document processes, train replacement workers at other facilities, and help each other find new opportunities. When the closure was complete 6 months later, David's plant had the highest morale scores in company history and the smoothest transition on record, not because David was an expert in plant closures, but because he led with authenticity, transparency, and genuine care for his people. The broken feeling he had at the beginning became the foundation for the most meaningful leadership experience of his career. Your daily leadership practice must be built on this same foundation. Every morning, ask yourself 3 questions. What challenges is my team facing that I can help with? What experience do I have that might be useful? How can I serve these people better today than I did yesterday? These questions orient your mind toward contribution rather than self-protection. Preparation is your secret weapon for high-stakes conversations when you feel uncertain. Create what I call your leadership preparation system. Before any important meeting or conversation, spend 15 minutes writing down 3 things. What you know about the situation, what questions you need answered, and what outcome would best serve everyone involved. This simple process transforms anxiety into clarity and panic into purpose. Your personal communication system should include response templates for common situations. When someone asks you a question you cannot answer, your response should be automatic. That's a great question. Let me get you the accurate information by tomorrow morning. When someone challenges your decision, your response flows naturally. I understand your concern. Let me explain the thinking behind this choice and get your input on how we might address the issues you are raising. The compound effect of consistent practice cannot be overstated. Every time you speak up in a meeting, every time you share a difficult truth, every time you ask for help when you need it, you are building your leadership voice. These small acts of courage accumulate over time into unshakable confidence and undeniable authority. The key is consistency, not perfection. Build a support network that reinforces your growth. Find mentors who can guide you, peers who can challenge you, and team members who can give you honest feedback. Leadership is not a solo journey. The most effective leaders surround themselves with people who help them see their blind spots, celebrate their progress, and hold them accountable to their highest standards. Your action plan for the next 90 days starts today, this week. Identify one situation where you have been holding back your voice because you feel unqualified. Speak up, share your perspective, contribute your experience. Next week, find one person on your team who needs encouragement and give it to them based on your own story of overcoming challenges. The following week, tackle one difficult conversation you have been avoiding because you were not sure how to handle it. Continue this pattern for 90 days, one brave act of leadership communication each week. By the end of those 3 months, you will not recognize the leader you have become. More importantly, the people around you will start seeing you differently. They will start coming to you for guidance, support, and wisdom. They will start treating you like the leader you are becoming. Remember Maria from the beginning of our time together, the woman who froze at the podium and then found her authentic voice? 5 years later, she is the CEO of that same company. Not because she became perfect, but because she learned to lead from her authenticity rather than in spite of it. Her struggles became her strengths. Her uncertainty became her relatability. Her broken moments became her breakthrough opportunities. This is your moment. Not tomorrow when you feel more prepared. Not next month when you have more experience. Not next year when you feel more confident. Right now, with all your imperfections and uncertainties, you have everything you need to speak like a leader. Your experiences have prepared you. Your struggles have qualified you. Your commitment to serving others has authorized you. The world needs your voice, your perspective, your hard-won wisdom. Stop waiting for permission that will never come. Stop preparing for a test you will never feel ready for. Start speaking like the leader you already are, especially when you feel broken, because that is when your leadership matters most, and that is when your voice has the power to change everything.